Yo, yo, get up, nah I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. Never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast. And that's facts.
What up, Chicago? How we doing? I'm Dustin Jones from 4 Star Chicago Sports and Chicago Sports Podcast, of course. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate y'all. Everybody in the chat, keep the comments coming. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'll be asking questions as well. If you want to participate, throw in your answers. But I mean, man, the NBA trade season is heating up. Saturday night, the most shocking trade of my NBA lifetime happened when Luka Doncic got sent to the Lakers. And then Sunday, that got followed up with the Bulls getting in on the action. They finally moved on from Zach LaVine and moved him to another team after years of speculation, right? Years of speculation on what was going to happen with LaVine. Could they get rid of him at all? But it happened Sunday night in a 3-team trade. The Bulls ended up getting back their 2025 first-round pick that they had previously traded away to the Spurs in the DeMar DeRozan deal. So they have the rights to that, which is a huge deal. They also got back Kevin Huerter, Trey Jones, and Zach Collins. So, I mean, a decent return, but it is what it is. You know, you stretch it out that long, trying to trade people and wait and holding on to your assets for that long, the value's going to go down. So the Bulls were actually it was a pretty solid return considering the situation, I think. I do want to say this, man. I love Zach LaVine. I've loved him since the Bulls traded for him. I loved him before the Bulls traded for him. And I'm happy that he's still playing good basketball. He really played well this season. He did exactly what the Bulls needed him to do to maximize his value. So I think Bulls fans should be thankful for that. And they should be thankful for the fact that this guy gave 8 really good years of his career to this city and this organization. He played his ass off. I've always loved him. I always thought he's kind of got shit on a little more than he probably should have. He's a 25-5-5 guy. I mean, and I think – I don't know that the Kings is the place for him, but I think if he's the third best player on a contending team, that would be a really sweet spot for Zach LaVine to eventually land. But that being said, the new guys that the Bulls got in this trade, Huerter, Trey Jones, Zach Collins, they're not going to be playing tonight. That's already been announced. And that's because the Bulls are still looking to make moves, and potentially with the guys that they got in this deal, including Huerter and Trey Jones. So they're still looking to make moves here, guys. And I think it's about time, right? The Bulls have been stuck in this purgatory for years, convincing themselves that they're contenders when they're not, playing only for the play-in. And it hasn't produced very good results. You're not high enough in the draft to impact your team positively. Your cap's all tied up in players that are overpaid and not really as good as what their contract is. And, you're an 8 seed in the playoffs. That's the worst place to be in NBA basketball. So the Bulls finally selling Zach LaVine signifies a much bigger thing that's going to be happening with the Chicago Bulls that I think we as Bulls fans should be happy about. I mean, it's not the best place to be, but it's better than being in a place where your franchise is trying to convince itself that it can compete and continuing to pay guys and not getting the results. So get rid of as much as you can here, I think, guys. You got to move as many of your assets as you can that teams are going to want and try to get as much draft capital as you can, because you need to be looking to the future. That's what this signifies, that the Bulls are becoming sellers, that they are ready to look to the future. And yes, Brandon Duplessis, what up? They need to tear that team down. And that's what it seems like they're finally ready to do after years of procrastination. So we should be happy about that as Bears fans, I think. Darius Lockhart, Bear Down, Breaking News Bruce, what up? Hey, guys, we got 30 people watching right now just on YouTube that I see. So thanks for joining us, guys. Keep the comments coming. We appreciate you. Does Lonzo have any value, Brando? I'm going to get to that. The first deal that needs to happen after this Zach LaVine trade is Vooch needs to go, guys. I mean, he serves no purpose on this team. This team, again, is signifying that it wants to rebuild, to start over. And in order to do that, you need high draft picks. And in order to do that, you need to suck. The Bulls are going to trade away their best players and try to be a bottom 10 team this year. I think that's their plummet to the bottom is starting now. They've already won too many games as it is up to this point. So they really need to start, trying to capture the flag, right? They need to start playing capture the flag with this Cooper flag sweepstakes and get in on something here with some of these high value players that are going to be at the top of this draft. So Vuce needs to go, right? What I'm hearing is Nikola Vucevic to the Warriors. It's got all the smoke, guys. It's got all the smoke. And what I keep seeing, reading, hearing about is a package for the Warriors around Kevon Looney or Kyle Anderson, one or the other. The salaries are basically the same. And then Gary Payton III, and then a couple of second-round picks, guys. And that'll get them Vooch. And we always send out as Vooch. Considering that Zach LaVine was just traded and the Bulls only got back one first, I think it would be unrealistic to expect much more than that for Nikola Vucevic. So if you can get some expiring contracts, open up more cap space for yourself, get rid of that Vooch contract, and get a bit of draft capital in return, I think you're doing okay in that situation. What do you guys think? You want to trade Vooch? Let me know what you think. I think he's got to go. I think he's got to be the next domino to fall in this whole thing to start advancing the Bulls towards where we need them to go, where we should, as Bulls fans, want them to go, which is out of competitiveness for a couple of years and into really being bad, not mediocre, bad, to where you can stack some really good players through the draft and open up cap space for yourself for when a good guy does come along, one of those star players that you can attack in free agency. So, I mean, that's the next place it's got to go, Nikola Vucevic. Brandon, you asked about Lonzo Ball. I mean, he's being talked about in trade rumors as potential trade bait, and the Bulls think that they can get draft capital for him. I'll say this, man. Lonzo Ball's recovery this year and his comeback, it's been one of the most impressive things about the Bulls. That it really has. Think about this. Chew on this, guys. The Bulls have been 10.5 points better per 100 possessions with Lonzo on the floor versus off. His numbers aren't blowing anybody away, but Lonzo Ball does have some value there, it looks like, right? So, I mean, if you can move on from Ball and get any kind of draft capital for him, same thing with Vooch. You got to do it. He's valuable to this team, right? He's a leader on this team, obviously, and he impacts good basketball for this team just by the stats. You can see that. But he's not more valuable as that player than he would be as a potential trade chip to draw draft picks. So what his value is, Brandon, I don't really know. I would hope a couple of seconds. He's definitely not going to bring you back a first. Maybe if you were able to package Vooch and Ball to some schmuck, you can get some decent draft picks back, maybe a first, but each one of those guys separate. They're not bringing you a first, man. So you're kind of stuck taking the best offer you can get for those guys, but it's something that needs to be done because, again, the stat I just read you, 10.5 points better per 100 possessions with Lonzo Ball on the court. That means that he's impacting your team in a positive way. And the Bulls need to be thinking, how do we get as bad as possible, as quickly as possible to finish this season? Lonzo Ball's got to go if you're going to be pulling that off. Coby White, guys. Coby White has been made potentially available, right? The Bulls really should make everyone available. I mean, this roster no one on this roster should be untouchable besides Vucevic, who you just drafted, and Josh Giddey, who you just traded for. Those seem to be the kind of building blocks of this organization right now. That's kind of sad because we haven't even seen Vucevic play really much yet, and Giddey doesn't have an extension. So those are it's still somewhat concerning, right? Brandon Duplessis says about Lonzo Ball, he worked his butt off to get back on the court. He's made a lot of money and could easily have just hung it up. Yeah, respect to Lonzo Ball, man. Brandon, I appreciate that comment. You guys want to trade Lonzo Ball? Like I said, I think we should be trading everybody, guys. As many people as we can get rid of and bring more draft assets, future draft capital to this team, the better, because that's the direction we're going, right? Coby White, though, I'll say this. Unless the Magic are giving me multiple first-round picks or Anthony Black, there's no way I'm trading Coby White to the Orlando Magic. Coby White is 24 going on 25, hasn't even hit his prime yet. He just signed last year a 3-year, $36 million extension. He's in the second year of that right now, making $12 million a year, guys. This year, he's averaging 18 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 37% from 3. That's after averaging 19 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds last year. Like I said, he hasn't even hit his prime yet, and he's on a very team-friendly deal. So that makes Coby White a top 50 trade asset in the NBA. It's not just about his skill level, which he does have a high skill level, and it's only going to improve. He's shown that he's improving year to year. He's figuring it out. But it's also about his contract. It's a very team-friendly contract. So if you're going to give him up, which again, last year I was kind of opposed to it. I was very opposed to it. I didn't want to move on from Coby White. He was having a most improved player of the year type of season. He was killing it. But like, if the Bulls are going to go full teardown, Coby White should be made available. But don't trade him unless you can get really good draft capital back for him. I'm talking about a couple of firsts or a guy who was just recently drafted in the first in an Anthony Black, if you're talking to the Magic. I need to be blown away by draft picks in order to decide that I want to move on from Coby White. I think that's the most controversial one that we're talking about here. Vooch is going to go. If he doesn't, that's just more malpractice from the Bulls. Lonzo Ball is going to go, same thing, right? Coby White is a guy that you can make a very good case for. This guy could be a part of a rebuild. He can be a part of starting from the bottom. He's only 24 years old. He's a very good player who's shown the propensity to continue to get better. He improves his game every offseason in one way or the other. And he's not going to command a lot of money, and he's not currently commanding a lot of money. So do you guys want to trade Coby White? Any of my Bulls fans out there, right? Brandon, the Bulls got Coby and Ayo on quality contracts. That's enticing for other teams. Yes, 100%. Those were the best moves that they made in the recent years. Getting those contracts for Ayo and Coby at the prices that they got them for, at the years that they got them for, made them tradable, made them very enticing in trades, and it's not killing your salary cap. So I mean, like it helps. It was just, those were two great signings. So I guess my point would be is like everybody can and should be available. Like I said, besides Giddey and Buzelis, but I don't think you sell low on players like Coby and Ayo. Those are two guys I'm pinning down and saying, if you want these guys, you better give me something that's worth a damn. Like if I'm giving up Ayo, I need a couple second round picks from the Dallas Mavericks and Max Prosper, a guy who has some potential ceiling that we haven't seen him hit yet. And then I'm willing to make that move. But like, I'm not just selling low on these guys just for the sake of selling low on them. Brandon Duplessis. Hey guys, real quick, like, subscribe, share with a friend, hit that notification bell. Let us know what you think of our content. Let us know what you want to see from us. Let us know what you think about the idea of trading Coby White. You want to trade Coby White? Leave it in the comments. Tell us what. Yes. If yes, tell us why. If no, tell us why. I'm not moving on from Coby White without drawing a lot out of that team I'm giving him up to. But Brandon Duplessis asks, what the hell do we do with P. Will? Dude, I don't know. You're stuck with him. You have no options with Patrick Williams. You backed yourself into a corner on this from the beginning. You convinced yourself of his upside in the draft process and passed on real solid intel that Tyrese Halliburton had shown that he was a really good point guard, and that was going to translate to the NBA. Patrick Williams was a tweener forward that was all upside. He hadn't really shown anything on the college level. He's not really an offensive playmaker. He's a defensive specialist, and I don't think he's used in that role well. I think it's a combination of how the Bulls use him and how timid he is. He's timid when it comes to the scoring. He's timid when it comes to defending the best player on the other team. He doesn't seem to put in the work that he needs to improve his game. And it also seems like the Bulls might not be giving him the help he needs to improve his game. And so then the Bulls made him untouchable in trades, and then it turn around and it's time to pay the guy, and you're forced to pay him. You could have gotten rid of him and gotten some kind of value back for him. Now you're in a spot where you had to pay him. So now they pay him this massive deal, and you're stuck. You're just stuck with him. You got to hope that he turns into something. I wasn't like super low on the signing when they did it. I felt like it was something they had to do, similar to how they had to re-sign Zach LaVine rather than just let the asset walk for nothing. But that all comes down to, well, you put yourself in that position because you were not forward thinking. You weren't willing to make the move ahead of time when you could have gotten some kind of value out of it. So, I mean, you see where that gets you. If you're hesitant to pull the trigger, you see where it gets you. I hope Patrick Williams can blossom into a 3-and-D specialist. At best, like hopefully he's He's just that guy that can lock down the other team's best perimeter player and hit a couple of threes when you need him to, because he's never going to be an offensive presence, it doesn't look like. And I just don't know. Is Billy Donovan tradable? Brandon Duplessis asks. Well, for a thing or a person to be tradable, it has to have value to the person you're trading it to. So no, Billy Donovan is not tradable. I mean, you see the value he has to this Bulls organization. There's not much there, guys. I think Bulls fans should be excited about this next chapter. This has been hard, guys. I want to just look you in the eyes and relate to you for a second. Being a Bulls fan has been hard. This team has wallowed in mediocrity for multiple years, tried to convince you that we're driving a Ferrari, but you're in a Toyota. They've just continued to bang their head against the same wall and expect different results, like the wall's going to knock down. No, your head's going to get cracked. That's what's going to happen. Them accepting this inevitability is a positive thing. All the steps that have gotten us up to this point should make us very concerned about the ownership, which we've always had concerns about, right? And also the management, AK and Eversley. They've got us here. And they were stubborn and ignorant, and there was negligence all the way leading up to this point. Now they're finally realizing this is what we got to do. So I'm not going to clap too hard for them. I'm not going to pat them on the back too much, because I feel like all this shit should have been in the works long ago, guys. But I don't know. You tell me what you think. How do you feel being a Bulls fan, guys? Are you happy that they're making this decision and moving on to this next step in this franchise's future? Or are you more upset that it took this long to get here? Because I'm kind of on that latter part. It's like, how are you guys getting paid to do this job and didn't realize this sooner, that we should have never got to this point? This is the Chicago Bulls. I mean, the similarities between them and all these other Chicago teams is it's scary. It's like we're a big market team. Players should want to play for this team. This team has a lot of great history. Same as the Chicago Bears, right? Same as the Chicago Cubs. It's just like, it's disappointing. It's frustrating. And then you throw in the fact that you get the CHSN network or whatever the hell it's called, and you take the Bulls off the TV. So now you got to jump through hoops to figure out how to watch the Bulls even this year. On top of that, you're putting out a shitty product, so there's no motivation for you to go actually find a way to watch the Bulls. So it's like, what are you doing to us? Do you want us to be fans? Do you want us to be here supporting you? How much leeway should we give this organization? I don't know, man. They're going to have to start finding ways to find some success for me to even give them the time of day. I'm not going to a Bulls game. I'm not paying for a ticket with the product that they're putting out and how they've just snubbed their noses at the reality of the situation they've been in for years. I'm not doing it. You guys want to? Go ahead. The United Center's fun. The chicken strips are good. Always a good view everywhere you sit. Love driving out there. Love my Bulls, man. But like this, they haven't earned this. They haven't earned my money. They haven't earned my time and attention to that extent, guys. I'm talking about it now because I care about this franchise and I want them to get better. And what we're looking at here is a step in the right direction. But it's the same thing. Like, do I trust AK and Eversley to take them in the right direction all the way? No. I don't. What do we got in the chat, guys? If y'all got anything y'all want to talk about, please let me know. I got a few minutes to chop it up with you. If you don't, we can just call it a day. But I'll say this, 100 people watching us right now. Appreciate all of you. If y'all want to get active in the chat, I'm here for it. I'm with it. Here's the question of the day. Do you want the Bulls to continue to be run by Arturas Karnisovas and Eversley, or do you want new management in here to start going into this new phase of this organization's future? I think I do. Reinsdorf, we want to replace him too, probably, right? But like, that's easier said than done. He's the owner. It would be great if he sold, but that's my question, guys. Do y'all want AK and Eversley making these decisions for these next few years that are going to be hugely important for the Bulls' future? Right? I don't think I do. But again, that's another thing y'all can leave in the comments. I want y'all to tell me what you think about Coby White. Should we keep him on this team, or should we move him if we can get the right trade assets for him? Do you want to trade Coby? You want to keep him? There's a very good case for both sides, in my opinion. Do you want AK and Eversley to be making these these decisions, like for this Bulls franchise for the foreseeable future, and turning this whole thing around when they're the ones that drove us here in the first place. I don't think I do, but you can tell me what you think. Leave them in the comments, please. Tell us if you want AK and Eversley here, if you want Coby White here. We appreciate you guys as always. Breaking news, Bruce says, I barely watched the Bulls and Blackhawks this season because of the new network. I'm glad that I got Marquee for the Cubs. So yeah, I mean, do you have this the cachet to say, hey, come over here and pay for our network? Obviously it's not working out. The big networks ain't carrying you. The big carriers aren't carrying you. So like your fans are not having access. And Bruce, thank you for making my point there. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are saying the same thing. I can barely watch them anymore because they're not available to me. Why would you put out a crap product and then make it impossible to watch? I've watched the Bulls every year of my life. Sucky, good, in between, whatever. It doesn't matter. I've always watched it. I watched Eddie Robinson play basketball for Chicago Bulls. I watched Tim Floyd coach the Chicago Bulls. I mean, I've seen all of it. Marcus Fizer and Ron Artest. I mean, and I watched Jordan, and I watched Derrick Rose, and I watched Joakim, and I watched Luol Deng, and I've watched different iterations. Jimmy Butler. I've watched different iterations of this team, but I'm always there. But do y'all want me here? Do the Bulls want me here? Do they care about the support? I don't know. How much can you make a fan base work to support you? I guess would be my question. Darius says Kobe's never going to garner a first. Well, then I ain't getting rid of him, Darius. I'm sorry, I'm not. He has more value to me than just giving him up for Cole Anthony and a second-round pick. No, sir. No, thank you. I'd rather just have Coby White. That second-round pick don't mean anything to me, and Cole Anthony is not very good. He's not as good as Coby White, not even close. I'll take Anthony Black. But listen, you might be right, man. But then that goes back to it. Do you want to make that move? Is it worth it to your team? Do you get any better in now or in the future because of making that trade? I don't know. Are you going to keep Coby White? I mean, there's so many things to be discussed when it comes to this Bulls team. We need to see Vooch go. That needs to be the next domino to fall. Hopefully they can move Lonzo Ball somewhere where his positive play can impact a winning team, because that's not happening here for the Bulls. And if they move Coby White, I need to see better than a second round pick in Cole Anthony, guys. If you got some better ideas, I'll listen to them. But I love Coby White. I love watching this guy play, and I think he's only going to get better. He's going to be another one of those guys you move on from too early, and they go somewhere else, and then they come back here a couple times a year and kick your ass, and they become really good. They become all-stars. That tends to happen a lot with the Bulls, guys. Why do you think that? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? They don't develop their players well enough. They seem to identify a talent, but they don't know how to unlock it. And then they go somewhere else and it gets unlocked. And it's like, oh, we could have had this guy on our team. So, I mean, it's been hard to be a Bulls fan, guys. It really has. Hopefully this is changing the direction of the ship and we can start having some positivity about it. Hopefully these network things get worked out and the Bulls become more available for us to watch. And I mean, honestly, they haven't been too much fun to watch this year. And again, their goal is to suck as bad as they possibly can for the remainder of this season. I think Herter is either going to get traded again or he's going to get bought out, right? Duplessis, Brandon, you say you read the possibility of Vooch for Gafford. No freaking way. No way. I would never make that deal if I was the Mavericks. That's insane. I mean, Anthony Davis needs that Gafford type next to him. Now, they have Lively, but he's hurt right now. But Gafford is clearly a better player than Vucevic at this point in their careers. If I was trading straight, there's no way I'd trade that straight up. And right now, the Bulls cannot be giving up draft capital. Yeah, Markkanen, Carter Jr., Gafford, three guys that are examples of what I was talking about, Brandon. Darius says he's glad the Bulls have picked a direction. Again, I am too. But I still harbor resentment about how long it took them to realize that this direction had already been decided for them multiple years ago. Darius, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can give them credit for finally making this decision, but the decision was inevitable and it was in front of your face multiple years ago. So we also got to hold them accountable for that too, because Holding on to DeMar, holding on to DeMar led to very minimal return for him. Holding on to Levine led to minimal return for him, and it's going to lead to minimal return for Vooch. Last year was the time to move these guys. A year and a half ago was the time to move these guys. Smart franchises recognize these things. They see it. Listen, the Mavericks are getting slammed right now, rightfully so. They just traded away a top 3 player in basketball, got a very minimal return as well. They identified that they wanted Anthony Davis. I mean, you traded away Luka and you didn't even create a market for him. You talked to one team and it happened to be the one team that gets all these trades all the time. So it looks really bad. But I will say this, at least that's a direction, Darius. The Mavericks knew what they wanted. They said, I would rather have Anthony Davis on this team than Luka Doncic. And that's why the Lakers were the only team they talked to, because there were no other options in terms of getting that type of guy back for Luka. They just didn't exist. So, I mean, that's a direction. That's a team that knows what they want to do, and they got in front of it. They got in front of the extension. They didn't wait and see what happens, and then now you're forced to pay the guy like the Bulls did with Zach LaVine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll commend the Mavericks for that. I will say, on the other hand, they are idiots. They should have never made that trade, but at least they have some conviction and they know what they're doing. They know what they want to do. Whether or not they know what they're doing, actually, I guess those are two different things. A ton of injuries have also aided to the delay. I mean, I guess, but also those injuries could have expedited this process. I mean, those injuries made it clear that this team was not what you thought it was. And you knew you weren't getting Lonzo Ball back anytime soon, Darius. So what are you holding on for? What was there to hold on to? There was no hope to hold on to. It was all a facade. Pelinka said today they need a big, Vooch. Pelinka also said, we want a big that's a vertical lob threat and has competitiveness. So that's not Vooch, Brandon. There's nothing vertical about Nikola Vucevic. Vooch is planted firmly to the ground. There will be no lobs, and there will be very little competitiveness with Vooch. Vooch is come see, come sa. He's just he's like, whatever happens, I'm good with, as long as I get paid and I don't get hurt. That's the way Vooch has always approached basketball, as far as I'm concerned. That's the way it appears when I'm watching him play. Listen, guys, I love you all for being here. This has been a lot of fun, actually. This felt pretty natural. This felt pretty smooth. Y'all were participating in the chat very well, and I appreciate everybody for being here. We'll be back with you later tonight. We'll be back with you tomorrow for CSP every day of the damn week. You'll see me. You'll see Brandon Trax. You'll see Darius 7 times probably before the weekends, because Darius never stops. But we have the content for you. 4-Star Chicago Sports, that's where I'm at as well. You will see us tomorrow, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, and we'll be back on Monday night. Maybe we'll put some out over the weekend. We'll see how that goes. Where were you going to trade them? Darius, we can talk about it later, boss. I appreciate you, but I don't agree with you. But I would love to talk with you on a show about it. Love y'all. Have a great rest of your evening. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell, share it with a friend, and leave some comments in this video telling us what you think about Coby White. Should he stay or should he go? And AK and Eversley, should they stay or should they go? Bold out.